Want to help the channel? Go to shopclownfish.com where you can check out official Clownfish TV merchandise in our brand new shop. It helps us out. Also, check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/clownfishtv for more art and gaming live streams that we don't do on YouTube. We want to see you over there as well. Now let's get into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. We're going to talk about comic books again, but we're going to dovetail it with a little bit of Disney talk. Because Disney might finally get to a point where they are just fed up with Marvel Comics as a publisher and decide they don't want to publish comic books anymore because they're flat ass broke. And right now, Marvel Comics is a PR disaster. So we're going to talk about that. Before we do, hey, check out this Clownfish TV enamel pin that is going to be launching today on shopclownfish.com. It's probably not up yet. It's supposed to go up this afternoon, but keep an eye out on shopclownfish.com. We got to pre-sell 100 of these to get them made. If you guys want one, I think they're going to be around 10 bucks. But yeah, we're gonna make some enamel pins. We might do some more. It depends on how all of this goes. So I want to give a shout out to Spectreman on Twitter, who alerted me to this article coming from Business Insider. Another PR black eye for Marvel Comics and Disney in regards to diversity. Now, you know, we've talked before about how Disney says one thing and does another. We saw it, especially in Star Wars with the treatment of Finn. He got really shoddy treatment in the new trilogy, and they shrunk him on the poster for China to, you know, just to make sure that the Chinese didn't go thinking that we had, you know, a black lead in an American movie. How could we do that? And then when Black Panther came out in China, they put a mask on him. So on the poster, you couldn't tell, you know, what color the Black Panther was. I mean, little things like that Disney does that shows that they're kind of morally ambiguous when it comes down to it. And Disney, look, is a very, very large company. It's a multi-headed beast. And there are different divisions of Disney that you know, think different things and behave in different ways. It's not uniform. But Marvel Comics has been kind of going rogue the entire time, and we're going to talk about how all of this might catch up to them now that Disney is hurting. We did a video last night talking about how Universal Studios, which, you know, doesn't rely as heavily on the theme parks, Comcast doesn't rely as heavily on the theme parks as Disney, how they had a 94% decline in attendance at Universal and how that's crippled their theme park division. But that's okay because Comcast has many other divisions, including, you know, obviously internet and telephone and stuff like that, that compensates for the loss in revenue, right? But in the case of Disney, almost all their revenue comes from people being able to gather in large crowds, movies and theme parks, you know, etc. And Disney has been, as I understand it, they've been looking at Marvel Comics for a couple of years now, and they've been asking themselves, why are we publishing comic books ourselves? Because, you know, when it comes to comics, and I worked in Disney Comics for like 15 years. When it comes to Disney Comics, they basically just license those comics out to a variety of publishers, depending on the license. And it's up to the publisher to control their freelancers. It's up to the publisher to sell the comics. Disney gets paid either way. They get a licensing fee, so they get paid either way. It's up to the publisher to basically take all the hits, the PR hits, all of that, for the most part. And as I understand it, via my connections to Disney Publishing and brand managers over there, Disney has been looking for quite some time to find a way out of publishing Marvel Comics themselves. Now, they knew that the backlash would be pretty severe from fanboys, but, you know, they were kind of looking for an out. They've been looking for an out for a while, and the pandemic might actually be the out that they need, because we've been talking about this in videos. What's going to happen is that as these studios, these publishers restructure because of the pandemic, they're going to blame everything on the pandemic. They're going to get rid of problematic people and blame the pandemic. So it's very, very feasible that with the lack of revenue and the constant PR nightmare that is Marvel Comics, Disney may just be like, well, because of the pandemic, we're going to no longer publish Marvel Comics, monthly Marvel Comics ourselves. Instead, we're just going to find a licensee, or we're just going to, print reprints endlessly until we find the right partner. Now, they were eyeing up IDW for a while, because IDW was publishing some of the other Disney comics, and they were, dipping a toe into Marvel. They published some Marvel comics through IDW. This was Disney testing the waters to see if IDW could be trusted to just take over the superhero license, and they could be done with it. They could shut Marvel Comics down as a publisher, or just keep a couple of people around that manage the comics end of it, as brand managers. Basically, they could just move everything to Burbank, and you could work out of the same office that Marvel Studios does, and we're seeing consolidation there too. Marvel Entertainment, Marvel Studios coming under Kevin Feige. So you just move some people out to California and they handle the comic books. They, if it's Joe Quesada or whoever the hell they want, and they just handle all the licensed books. But IDW is in a catastrophic state right now. They're hemorrhaging money. They've got a revolving door of people at the top. They are obviously not the right company to handle this. I mean, possibly Boom maybe could handle it. Possibly Dark Horse could maybe handle it. It depends on who's going to be left after the pandemic, because I'm not convinced that all of these publishers are going to make it through this year. I think some of these publishers are going to fold. My money would be on IDW folding here very soon, probably within the next year to 18 months. So Disney's not going to go with them, obviously, at least in my opinion. I mean, I wouldn't. But let's talk about this, because they're getting another black eye. Now because of diversity. And Marvel's been getting beat up by the mainstream media for a couple of years now. And this is when Disney pays attention. They don't pay attention to the comic book blogs. They don't care. But when it hits the Hollywood Reporter, when it hits the Business Insider, when it hits Deadline, when the catastrophe, the PR nightmare that is current year Marvel Comics makes them look bad in the mainstream press, that's when they take action. That's what happened to Axel Alonso. He got gone because all of the bad news was leaking out to the mainstream, and Disney hates it. It's bad press to them is holy water. But here's another black eye. Marvel insiders say they're skeptical of the recent pledge to improve diversity in its comics and company after employing only 2 black editors in the last 5 years. Here are the bullet points. In the early 2010s, Marvel's comics business focused on a diverse slate of new characters, but by 2017, comic sales had fallen, which resulted in the exit of editor-in-chief Axel Alonso. 3 former Marvel editors and 1 current editor told Business Insider that in the years since, Marvel has recommitted to nostalgia and classic, mostly white characters, often at the expense of some of those diverse characters like Miles Morales, a biracial teenage Spider-Man. No, what's going on is Disney is looking at the numbers, and Disney is like, why would you swap out all of our existing characters for stand-ins, diverse or not? These are the bankable characters. These are the characters that are on screen right now. You need to have Peter Parker as Spider-Man. Now, Miles Morales is very popular. He is, and he's more popular now because of the Spider-Verse movie doing so well. So I don't think Miles has ever really been sidelined, but some of the other characters, they did replace effectively the leads. You can have it both ways. You can have your cake and eat it too. It's been done before. You can have the roster of the Avengers stay basically the same and also introduce more diverse characters. From my point of view, it looks like we need the brand recognition of an established character to introduce diversity versus let's create new characters and market them effectively. Why would you want a hand-me-down? Why would you want to be the fill-in for another character? Why not create new characters, give them the marketing push that they deserve, and go from there? Well, they're trying, and it's failing miserably. They're trying, but they're doing it wrong. We'll get there. We're getting there. So that shift was guided by an editorial department that lacked diversity. This is what they're claiming, particularly in leadership roles. No, Sana Amanat actually runs the show. over there. And in fact, once Axel Alonso got gone, I think she actually gained power over at Marvel. Because when they do these, big PR pushes for diversity, they always have Sana Amanat. And look at her body language. Look at the was it CBS This Morning, where they had her and CB Cebulski. She clearly was the boss. She's the boss. CB Cebulski basically answers to her because they tried to get him ousted, I think, at the beginning, because they dug up some stupidity about him using a Japanese pen name. But now he basically answers to Sana Amanat. She is the actual editor-in-chief of Marvel. As far as I'm concerned, and from what I've heard, she's the boss over there. So that's not entirely true. Today, there are no black staffers on Marvel's editorial team of 18 people, and only 2 people of color, Marvel confirmed. My voice and what I brought to the table wasn't valued equally, said Charles Beecham, one of only 2 black editorial staffers to work at Marvel in the last 5 years. So that's interesting. Marvel is preaching diversity, but they don't have very many black staffers. This does not surprise me. A lot of the companies that make the biggest deal about diversity are themselves not very diverse. But this is actually kind of sad. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about his story, but what was sad about it was that he was living in New York with a kid. He's 31 now, so yeah, he was pretty young when he got a job there, but he was living in New York City with a child on a $38,000 a year salary. $38,000 a year in Manhattan. I'd heard people joke about their editors only making like $40,000 a year, but that's pathetic. I mean, that is effectively, in Manhattan, that's effectively minimum wage. I think it's probably even less than that. I think to actually live in Manhattan, you have to have a healthy 6-figure salary. And but the thing is that comics can't pay. He talks about how he's not getting, or he didn't get a raise for years, and there's some other staffers that didn't get a raise. And the thing is that Marvel's not very healthy right now. They can't pay their people very well. I don't know if it's because they excluded him personally, but I know that when you're not selling a lot of books, you're not going to get raises. Your people aren't going to get raises. Now, Marvel's never paid big bucks to editorial, but I know that in the past, I think they've been paid a hell of a lot better than that. But still, Disney is going to look at this situation, and they're trying to cut corners now. They've been trying to cut corners on Marvel for a while. They shoved Disney Publishing and Marvel, I guess, into the same building. They're streamlining editorial. They're having people put their pencils down, stop working on books to save money. This is all because Disney is in full-on freak-out panic mode that layoffs are coming. Okay, and if layoffs are coming to profitable divisions of the Walt Disney Company, you can be damn sure that layoffs are coming to Marvel Comics, and they might just, shut the damn thing down. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just speculating. I just know that behind the scenes, there has been a push from the bean counters to push the comic books off onto someone else so they can just shut down Marvel Comics, because it's not turning a profit. And this year, when the comic shops are closed for 6 months, it's definitely not turning a profit. So when you see Marvel do this weird shit like New Warriors, okay, and push for dumb stuff on their YouTube channel, this is them trying to justify their existence to Disney, and it's like clockwork. I know what it's like. I know a lot of people who answer to Disney, and you can see all the Disney-owned outlets, all the Disney companies pushing for this thing or that thing because that was the result of some management meeting somewhere. And the thing with the New Warriors, they're basically trying to show Marvel that they can still create new characters, diverse characters, and that they're hip. They know what the kids want. They're in tune with the Utes. They know what kids want. They're hip to diversity, even though this thing was widely panned, widely mocked. 256,000 downvotes on the New Warriors compared to 5,000 upvotes. And all of this stuff Disney is paying attention to. Disney is paying attention to their YouTube channel, because right now YouTube is popular. So they're probably, the people at Marvel, Joe Quesada or whoever, they're probably scrambling. They're probably trying to justify their existence. Look at this. Marvel Entertainment is live. They're live streaming right now. 13.9 million subscribers. They only have 291 people watching. A bad Clownfish TV live stream gets about 1,000 people. We average about 3,000 to 4,000 people. That's not to brag. I'm just trying to say, how sad is that when a YouTube channel that's only got a little over 100,000 subs gets more people than Marvel freaking Comics. But look, they just keep, just spray and pray. They just throw all kinds of videos up. Now, some of them do really well. Video game trailers do well, movie trailers do well, but some of the stuff, they're lucky if they get 20,000 views. Again, on a channel with 13.9 million subscribers, every damn video you post should get over 100,000. And it's just not. And what they're doing is they're just kind of, throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what will stick, because Disney's paying attention. As I was reminded when I worked on the other Disney blog that basically, I'm going to be honest, Disney basically owned it via access and via advertising and via co-op money. Disney basically owned us. And I can tell you that this is just like, this is a result of some marketing meeting. Well, we need more XYZ thing, according to Disney. So let's put a trailer up for, something with Sana Amanat and G. Willow Wilson. The show were diverse. Let's, throw some cooking shows up there. Let's do an unboxing. Those are kind of popular. Let's do cooking shows. 17,000 views. How to Draw Hulk. 33,000 views. Some rando art YouTuber could do How to Draw Hulk, and they're gonna make more. They're gonna get more views. So their YouTube channel, for the size of it, I think is kind of a failure. And if you wanna compare it, I would compare it to Machinima. Warner Media bought Machinima as part of an acquisition of, like, I can't keep track of who owns who now, Otter Media or something. But they got a hold of Machinima. At one point in time, Machinima was the most popular YouTube channel, hands down. It has 12 million subs, and they still had videos that were performing. Like, they could have just left it go, and it would have generated, a modest revenue just from reruns or whatever. But you know what they did? Warner Media shut it down because it wasn't profitable enough. They just shut Machinima down. It was cheaper to shut Machinima down than it was to let the thing limp along the way that it was. And I can see this happening with Marvel. It's cheaper to shut Marvel down, save all those salaries. Even if these people are only making $38,000 a year, they could take that $38,000 a year and hire somebody over at Disney Plus, or put that money to better use, other than publishing comic books. Let's let somebody else pay us to make comic books. Let's keep a couple of people on staff here in Burbank to oversee the comics. And let's also divest ourselves of the PR nightmare that is Marvel Comics. And it has been. The last 3 years for Marvel Comics has been one PR nightmare after another. We've got, currently, we're talking about now with Twitter. We've got Marvel Comics freelancers out there. They're a complete PR nightmare. They are smearing the name of Marvel Comics and smearing the name of Disney and their brand on Twitter. They're running at the mouth constantly. They're getting into Twitter fights. A lot of them are part of this Whisper network on Facebook that's trying to get other creators canceled. And I know how Disney thinks. They don't like the drama. They don't like the controversy. They're not going to go to bat for any of these people. They're going to get rid of them. If they think they're a problem, they're just going to get rid of them. Look at what happened to Axel Alonso. There was a lot of controversy about diversity in comics. Both talking about diversity in comics and Marvel going out of their way to try to smack down YouTubers. That Disney's like, fine, screw it. The sales aren't even there. The numbers aren't there. You're out the door, Axel. Let's put CB Cebulski in because he has experience, working in other countries, and we're looking for, long-term for IP for other countries. I don't think they've generated any of that. It's been, 2 years? And I don't know what they're doing, but I don't think they're making a whole lot of new characters. I think CB Cebulski, who came in strong, and he canceled a bunch of books that weren't performing, but because of the cancel culture, because people tried to cancel him because of his Japanese pen name, he had his teeth pulled out, and Sana Amanat is basically running the company at this point. And I think that the time is going to come very, very soon, especially if they keep getting pushback like this in mainstream media, that Disney is going to be like, you know what? Fuck it. It's not worth it. We're shutting it down. We're going to job these comics out, and we're going to blame the pandemic so nobody can come back on us and say, hey, Disney fired a bunch of diverse people, blah, 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 blah. All they're going to say is, oh, Disney had to shut down Marvel Comics because they were hemorrhaging money. And those layoffs are coming, guys. After this next quarterly earnings call, it's going to be an absolute disaster. It's going to be a worst earnings report ever that Disney has ever had. Even their theme parks right now, they're not even remotely close to making the kinds of money they need to make to keep things running as they've been running. There are going to be cutbacks for sure. And no, they're not going to sell Marvel Studios. Hell no. It's a cash cow. They're not going to sell it. But outsource the comics? Absolutely. It makes sense. I think it's coming very soon. And I would not get too comfy there, Marvel Editorial, Marvel freelancers, because you put your pencils down, you might not be picking them up again. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.